There is a general impression that the Amazon rainforest had been there undisturbed for millions of years until the 20th century, with mass forest clearances. Alongside this was the assumption the land was only inhabited by a few scattered tribes, barely scraping by on what they can gather from the rainforest. However, none of that is actually remotely accurate. Around about 2,000 years ago, the climate of the Amazon basin became dramatically wetter, gradually transforming what was a mix of wide open grassland or savanna and forest towards the more familiar dense rainforest. Now, this open land was inhabited by substantial numbers of farmers and others growing maize, squash, pineapples, cassava, along with nuts and palm fruits and dozens of other crops. In fact, a far wider variety of crops than were grown elsewhere in the world at the time. The natives also managed the fruit-bearing trees and increased their yield over time. As the Amazon gradually changed into dense rainforest, they also had a substantial impact on the rest of the world. The dramatic increase in the number of trees sucked up huge amounts of carbon dioxide, which causes a greenhouse gas, and removed that from the atmosphere. This in turn meant that more energy from the sun was radiated back into space, resulting in the Earth cooling. And this could have been the driving force behind the Little Ice Age of the Middle Ages. Now, ironically, it's the recent mass logging and clearing of the rainforest which is proving the existence of the large settled community in the Amazon basin. The clearing has resulted in the discovery of a great many huge ditch works, each more than half a mile long, nearly a dozen feet wide and deep. Now, creating these geoglyphs would have been far too great an undertaking for scattered groups of hunter-gatherers struggling to survive. The soil around these areas also contains pollen from the crops the people grew, along with charcoal remains and other signs of settled community like shards of pottery. Now, these geoglyphs are not isolated rare events. There may be more than 1,000 of them, meaning the South American population was substantial, possibly numbered around 5 million people when the first explorers from Spain and Portugal arrived. Now, the early explorers like Francisco de Orellana described large settlements along the banks of the rivers, but when much later explorers arrived, they failed to find and locate these settlements, so the early descriptions were dismissed as fanciful ideas, and the idea of scattered communities became the norm. Instead, it's likely that people of South America, like their northern neighbours, were vulnerable to smallpox, influenza, and other diseases. It's been especially so in large settled communities. Along with this, the increased rainfall have also led to crop failures and food rotting in the fields. All of this would have resulted in the large settlements soon becoming abandoned or unsustainable, and then becoming overgrown and unidentifiable when later explorers arrived. This resulted in later explorers only finding scattered tribes and assuming this was how it had always been. This idea of scattered, ignorant savages have also supported the agenda of the explorers and their backers, with them supposedly bringing civilization and religion to the savages. Understanding exactly what happened to the Amazon ecosystem, the people, and why may give us a deeper understanding of what is currently happening to our climate and the possible repercussions of our actions.